Few minority group relationships in American history have been as complex and multifaceted as that between African Americans and Jewish Americans. At times living cooperatively, other times clashing violently, these two groups have shared a common connection since the beginning of U.S. history. Two time periods, the decade from 1960 to 1970 and the 20 years from 1990 to the present, are crucial to an understanding of the dynamics of the Black-Jewish relationship, which continues to develop today.
Oh, this the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Oh, deep down in the south, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, deep down in the south.
The 1970 began the peaceful climate of cooperation over civil rights and shared religious values. The period became known as the Golden Age of Black-Jewish relations. These two groups were moved to join together as a result of a common moral purpose, the struggle against discrimination and bigotry, and the goal of a more tolerant American society. Jewish leaders and Black Christian leaders found that values of nonviolence were Judeo-Christian principles which they both held in common, making an alliance natural. The political relationship between Blacks and Jews also started off on a positive note. Formed, notably Luther King Jr. and Abraham Joshua Heschel, who walked together during the Selma Voting Rights March and led the way for Jewish-Black cooperation during this period.
After King's assassination, the relation began to spiral downward.
Whites can help us, but they can't join us. There can be no black-white unity until there is first some black unity.
The white man pays Reverend Martin Luther King, subsidizes Reverend Martin Luther King, so that Reverend Martin Luther King can continue to teach the Negroes to be defenseless. That's what you mean by nonviolence. Be defenseless. Be defenseless in the face of one of the most cruel beasts that has ever taken the people into captivity. That's this American white man.
As the decade neared an end, however, the rise of Black power marked the deterioration of such an alliance. Leaders such as Malcolm X and Stokely Carmichael challenged the once cooperative relationship between Blacks and Jews by preaching more radical and violent methods in civil rights. Tension over religious values ran high, with the Muslim-based Black Power movement wishing to be free of Jewish influence. Malcolm X's ideology grouped Jews in the same category as all whites. The decline of the Golden Age was the result of a new kind of political power focused more on separate racial identity. During the 1960s to 1970s, economic issues were a key factor in the weakening of Black-Jewish relations. The most significant issue was the landlord-tenant relationship. Impoverished Blacks were often indebted to Jewish landlords, grocers, and store owners, which led to claims of Jewish exploitation among Black communities. According to a 1969 Time magazine article, Jews ranked as the most successful minority and Blacks as the least. Jews, having white skin, presumably enjoyed greater access to federal loans, labor unions, and upward economic mobility.
Today, Blacks and Jews have reconciled many of their differences, but this peaceful atmosphere is a result of a revolution in relations with one another from 1990 to 2011. Economic disparities were a major factor in influencing the evolution of Black-Jewish relations. Hostility erupted in an incident that is known as the Brooklyn Crown Heights riot. On August 19, 1991, a Hasidic Jew lost control of his car while driving in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and hit 2 children. In response, predominantly African-American mobs surged through the streets crying, "Kill the Jew." But as the new millennium dawned, Jews and Blacks found ways to revive the alliance by instituting programs for social and economic justice. Politics have been central to the evolution of the Black-Jewish relationship. Tensions rose to a boil in the debate over affirmative action. Blacks felt it to be a vital measure to level the playing field, but Jews protested different treatment of any person on the basis of race or religion. But as time passed, remarkable strides in reconciliation began to unfold. Liberal Black and Jewish organizations began to put aside their differences and established the Committee for Ethnic Understanding. In 2000, the election of observant Jew Joseph Lieberman as Al Gore's running mate was celebrated by both Blacks and Jews as a positive step toward political involvement for minorities. Barack Obama's successful campaign for the presidency featured a commitment to the rebuilding of the Black-Jewish alliance.
What I want to do is rebuild what I consider to be a historic relationship between the African American community and the Jewish community. I would not be sitting here were it not for a whole host of Jewish Americans who supported the civil rights movement and helped to ensure that justice was served in the South. And that coalition has frayed over time around a whole host of issues. And part of my task in this process is making sure that those lines of communication and understanding are reopened.
In this period, relations have shifted culturally from intense conflict to reconciliation. In 1993, a prominent leader of the Nation of Islam, Khalid Muhammad, attacked Jews at a lecture at Keene College, calling Jews bloodsuckers and insinuating that they had brought the Holocaust on themselves. Anti-Semitism increased in the black community, shown explicitly in the Nation of Islam's publication, The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, which presented an exaggerated version of the Jewish involvement in the slave trade. Notorious leader Louis Farrakhan supported the book. But as the new millennium dawned, Jews and blacks began to reevaluate their actions and begin to rebuild the alliance. A success in the attempt to bring Jews and blacks together came in April of 2000, in which Jews and blacks from all over the country came together to celebrate Passover and Martin Luther King Day. The time span 1990 to 2011 and the decade 1960 to 1970 are both key periods in the development of the relationship between Jews and African Americans. Political, cultural, and economic issues are the basis for an evolution, for the better or for the worse, in each period. But despite all these years of tension, these two groups have always worked together to resolve their differences, to rebuild what their struggles might have destroyed. Blacks and Jews are forever united in their historical demand to let my people go. Whatever the struggle is between themselves or against the greater society, they are unlikely to be prevented from working together to achieve their goals.
One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
Yeah. What's the difference between blacks and Jews? What's the difference, the difference between us? We both believe in the God who redeemed us, the you and the me and the you, the black and the Jew, African and Hebrew. What's the difference between us? We both been demeaned. From now on, nobody demeans us. What's the difference between blacks and Jews? What's the difference? We're both the same. We've seen age-old hate, seen age-old pain. We've seen our ancestors killed on the street. We've seen starving children steal just to eat. To our oppressors, we haven't forgotten the slavery, the beatings, the lynchings, the cotton, the ghettos, the gases, the patches, the lashes, the axes of evil you set to attack us. You should have finished, cause now we're back, whether Jew or black. Never again will we ask to be treated equally. We'll expect it, and if you don't deliver to us, we'll collect it. We both believe in the mountaintop. We won't stop trying till we stand on Mount Zion. When we reach the peak of our dreams, the mountains will bow down at what we believe. The difference between us. We both believe in the God who redeemed us, the you and the me and the you, the black and the Jew, African and Hebrew. What's the difference between us? We both been demeaned. From now on, nobody demeans us. What's the difference between blacks and Jews?
E-Shot, we got you, baby. Brownsville, all of that. But then when we come to Crown Heights, you need to hold us down, too. Y'all know what time it is.